Hello, myself Sunil Ramkrishnan. This is 145th number part of the formula, and here basically we are discussing about the formulas of the software industry. That is basically the project management plan, and the base of this is basically in the Pune. The Pune city basically is creating and handling this all the and doing the manipulation of this each and every attributes. For example, earned value. Earned value is created by hundreds of balance sheet. So that basically hundreds of balance sheet list basically the Pune company have. The Pune basically the PMI basically company. It's basically situated in Pune. So Pune basically have the hundreds of balance sheet list, and mostly basically PMI group might be connected with the United States of American government also, because American government mostly have the hundreds of balance sheet because they are handling each and every software energies also. For example, Microsoft Energy is there, and Microsoft Energy has created 1,000 human needs. So software company, so so US government basically have the thousands of human needs balance sheet, human needs data basically you can say, and each and every mapping of the human needs basically. So reason behind this is USA is the software company base basically, and each and every software company basically which get produced, we can say which get manufactured, that basically comes from USA only. So the base basically is from USA, and everything starts from USA related to the software industry basically. And software industry basically we have already discussed lots of things. Microsoft Energy is there. Microsoft is created by Microsoft Energy has created more than 1,000 cities, and Microsoft Energy basically has created more than 1,000 human needs also basically you can say. So that's basically Microsoft property basically you can say, 1,000 human needs which has created by Microsoft Energy. That is basically the big property of the Microsoft basically. You can say it's a royalty of Microsoft Corporation. So whatever basically hard work has done, that's basically royalty is getting. So here basically we are not discussing that. Here basically we are discussing about the balance sheets. That is basically 100 balance sheet, and 100 balance sheet has basically merged with earned value. That also you can say. So here basically we are not discussing that also. Here basically we are discussing that uh, earned value, which basically is getting calculated, that is basically calculated on the set of formulas. So basically if we say that earned value is getting calculated on the base of certain formulas, and that certain each and every formulas that are basically set of attributes, that basically is connected with the balance sheets. So balance sheet plus balance sheet minus balance sheet divided by balance sheet. So this type of basically formula basically and the mathematics basically nobody has done. That also you can say. So basically you might not have never heard about the like this formula that balance sheet minus balance sheet. Basically, nobody can think also this. If this basically process gets convert to the real practical life, then basically just see the accounting industry basically. How the accounting industry basically you can say, the software industry which was earning 1,000 crore, they are going to earn 10,000 crore. So just imagine basically the formula is going to convert to. So the amount which is software industry is earning, that is 1,000 crore. After this formula gets implemented in the practical life, real scenario, then the profit margin will be 10,000 crore. So you can just imagine the profit margin which is going to jump. That is basically 10 times, little bit deeper than this basically. That is basically if I say that earned value equal to hundreds of balance sheets, and earned value basically is converted into one energy also basically you can say, earned value equal to 100 balance sheet, and earned value is created converted into one energy. so that basically in future, if anybody want to go or want to calculate the earned value, exact earned value, then basically this would be easy. That's why basically the earned value is converted into energy also. And if any object or anything gets converted to energy, that by default converts into nuclear also. It's by default basically. Whatever energy, whatever, for example, SAP is one energy, Salesforce is one energy, Microsoft is one energy. So that have nuclear energy also. It can be positive, it can be negative. So that basically depends upon the use of the energy basically is done by the certain governments basically. For example, Microsoft energy is in United States of America, or it's in Europe, or it's in India, or it's in Ireland. So that mm, Microsoft energy can be converted into nuclear, and it basically whatever energy which gets converts into the energy, whatever object basically gets converted into the energy, that basically by default it converts into the nuclear basically. And nuclear means you can just imagine, if we see its positive level, then nuclear basically is a good for the particular country. And if you think negative, sorry, positive level, then it's good for that country. And if we think negativity, then it's very dangerous for that country. That will be nuclear weapon basically, you can say. So each and every software company, base software company basically, you can say, that's basically are by default getting converted into nuclear weapon, nuclear basically energy basically, you can say. That's why basically, that's why the power companies, the energy company always keeps activation with them. For example, I will take one example. One country basically has thrown one missile to certain country, just taken as an example, nothing else. So that weapon basically which is basically jumped in, which is basically fired to the another country. So that weapon basically might be containing some uh, nuclear weapons basically, but that is not going to blast. That will blast basically meters area basically, but it is not going to blast to certain kilometers. Why? Because the power company has not setted the environment. That's why basically each and every energies are nuclear, but to activate that energy, that required power supply activation. That basically you can say it's a password basically, you can say password of the nuclear energy basically, which gets activated to the environment. So when that nuclear get, for example, the power company has setted the missile formula to 3 kilometer areas. Power company has activated that. So power company knows basically this missile basically have which type of um, ingredient basically, you can say, which kind of material basically which the missile company is using. So according to that basically the certain area kilometers areas are setted by the power companies. For example, 3 kilometer. So in within 3 kilometer only this missile is going to attack. But if our company has not done the activation or not done the setting, then basically that nuclear that weapon basically, that is basically missile, will not have the as blast basically. It's expecting it. It might be expecting. It will blast in just 200,000 to 2,000 meters area. So it will not blast too much basically. Why? Because the power company has kept the control with them. So power company basically here basically what we are discussing here, we are discussing that each and every objects in this world which is created and which has converted to energy. For example, Microsoft energy. For example, SAP energy. For example, petrol is one energy. For example, oil is one energy. For example, vegetable, it's a unique energy. Water energy, so that's a unique energy. Tree energies, so tree basically when it's converts when it converts to the energy, that time basically it's a unique energy. So each and every energy, each and every object basically have one energy, and that energy basically are by default converted into nuclear. But that basically required activation, and without activation that does not get active. That's why basically the power company and the energy companies and the nuclear power company. So for example, power company has done the activation, but this was not approved by the energy company. Then basically this will not get blast. Power company has activated, the energy company also got activated the energy. Then also this will not get blast. Then also this will not get activated. Reason, the nuclear company basically nuclear power company which is connected with this energy and the power company, that has not activated, that has not done the approval. So when these three will get approval, and the another basically physical approval basically is at last basically. So when this all gets approval, then only basically the missile will get attacked. So just think basically to if anybody any country is firing the missile, then how many days preparation is basically. So mostly basically 1 month before only the preparation starts. For example, this area, in this area basically missile is going to be done. So that preparation basically starts from 1 month before only basically. So you can just imagine basically the missile attacks basically is happening nowadays. So it's prepared 1 month before only. So like this here basically we are discussing about the earned value, actual cost. These all are nuclear basically. You can say it's a nuclear, and earned value is equal to hundreds of balance sheet. That hundreds of balance sheet are also basically physical objects, and physical objects are by default converted into the energies. Reason, whatever object human is going to use, that is basically by default going to convert it into nuclear weapon. So whatever basically you can say objects which are getting created by which are used by the human, that is by default going to convert to nuclear one day. That is by default 100%. Reason, human has already used, and human if one human in this earth planet is using any object, that is by default going to merge with each and every human's body basically. That is basically by default. So just see the chain also basically, you can say chaining power basically. If one human is using that energy, that is by default going to merge with each and every human one day. So you can just anybody if any person has created their body up to the certain level, that nobody other than his energy basically, uh, other than basically you can say whatever energy he is approving, other than that energy basically if any other energy comes into his body in near body, then basically he can reject. So that type of basically body basically you can say it's a very huge, very rare basically. He might be some millionaire basically, then only basically this type of facility he might be available, but the normal person basically this type of thing never gets active because he don't have the money. So to protect himself basically, that by default basically he can't protect himself. Why? Because the money is not there. So each and everything basically will by default basically is going to merge with that normal human only. But if it's a special human basically who have basically lots of money, who can protect themselves, then basically this will not get effect to that particular person. So here basically we are discussing about the each and every object in this world that is by default going to convert to the nuclear weapon. Here basically if I say earned value, that is actual cost, that is SPI, that is CPI, these all are basically attributes of the formulas. So if I say each and every single attributes in project management plan is a nuclear weapon, then it will be 100% correct. If And I am 100% sure that like this way basically the things are not created. If this way the things might have created, and it might possible that this way the things might also created, because it's a nuclear. So nuclear basically nobody will, no country is going to take a risk. So by default basically each and every attribute has been converted, has been considered as a nuclear weapon only basically we can say, because e- each and every nuclear parts basically you can say which gets activated in the world, so that basically by default are taken care by the certain energies and power companies and nuclear groups basically. So by default basically this is each and every attributes basically which exist in the project management plan document and the PMBOK guide basically, and the which is approved by the Pune Institute basically you can say, because the PMP basically is headquarter is in Pune, and basically the controlling basically are done from the United States of America. So by default, basically USA have the each and every balance sheet that is basically by default, because if it it's by default basically, that's why basically they are earning a good money, and by default basically they have the hundreds of balance sheets, and each and every attribute basically in this project management plan, that is basically PMBOK guide basically you can say, and each and every attribute basically have basically you can say, for example there are more than 1,000 attributes. So 1,000 attribute basically you can say the more than 1,000 multiplied by 100. So you can just imagine the balance sheet number basically you can say. So each attribute basically contains hundreds of balance sheet. So you can just imagine the balance sheet and number basically, and that's why basically one country is preparing one balance sheet. So you can just imagine one country means you can just imagine. For example, in India there are 200 crore people. So 200 crore people are generating one balance sheet. So it's not a easy task also basically you can say to prepare one balance sheet also for the each and every earned each and every attributes of the project management plan. So it's very tough job basically also you can say for the project management plan institute basically that are basically PMI, that is basically in the Pune. So, but the headquarters of basically the base institute basically that is in United States of America, and these all are basically branches. Basically, they have given they have approved, they have basically opened the franchise of the PMI in Pune also, and but the in India basically it's the headquarter of the PMI group. So basically, this group basically mostly might be having the control of the India balance sheet at least. Whatever basically India have got the authority of creating the balance sheet. That basically by default the PMI basically institute which is basically in the Pune, they basically 100% have the access of this balance sheet. So here basically what we have discussed just now in this part that is basically 145th. That is basically 145th number. That the discussion was each and every attribute of the project management plan are equal to nuclear weapon basically you can say. And that nuclear weapon can be positive used, can be used as a positive, and can be used as a negative. So you basically can imagine basically if each and every attributes are getting used as a nuclear, and basically by default it converts to nuclear only, because one attribute is connected with the thousands of balance sheet. So here basically we have discussed that each and every attributes on in the project management plan that are nuclear weapon. So in 146th basically we are going to discuss a little bit more about the formulas.